Hello, Cinnamon Bun. Welcome to a ye olde plan with me. It has really been a while on one of these. I just felt the urge to record this bullet journal setup because I was doing something a little bit different than what I have been for the last wee while. So the first thing that is different in this setup than what I've been doing thus far, and in every other journal video, is that I'm actually trying out changing, I guess, like what I call my monthly setups. Like, I've been using like my kind of season names for the months for a long time, because I plan by my cycle, and sometimes those cycles run over like 2 months. So instead of doing like November, December, which I feel like is untidy, I would say like early winter or late autumn or whatever. And I've been doing that for a long time, but I wanted to change it up, and I thought about, I don't know, because I still think of those names as being like tied to the year and to the seasons, to the outside world, whereas I plan by like my internal seasons, like my body cycle. So I kind of wanted to have different names for that cycle versus like the month. So what I'm trying is using moon names. So you might be familiar with like full moons having names in so many different cultures. Like there's Native American ones, there's UK ones, there's like old Celtic ones, there's like different moon names from like all over the world. So I decided to go and look up like what were a lot of the like historical moon names used in Scotland or in the UK, and basically just picked my favourite of the options. There was always like at least a couple for each one, and I'm kind of using those as like my cycle names. So the name of this cycle that I'm setting up is Mourning Moon, which is the full moon in November. It's weird because like at the time that I was setting this up, and as I was going into November, I felt like maybe that name is too dark, or too heavy. Like it doesn't really get me excited to kind of connect with that idea. It feels more kind of Halloween, sort of October, than it does November. And I was considering changing it, but now with everything that's going on, to be honest, it seems kind of appropriate. So I've been doing that for a couple of months and been enjoying it, or liking doing things that way. The other thing that is different in this setup is that instead of just putting like a single print as my kind of like visual aesthetic part of my setup, I decided to do like a little, I guess like a collage, or to take images from like magazines and stuff that I have. When it comes to the functional kind of part of my setup, I feel like I've really nailed that. It really isn't that different from what I've always been doing, and I feel like that's a sign that it works. But it does mean that like I guess I was just getting kind of itchy feet, because it's just the same every time, and I was like, this works, but I have ADHD and I'm getting a little bored of it, and so I thought I would try and switch things up with the visuals and aesthetics, even though like the actual like functional kind of parts of the setup are going to stay the same, which I guess is why a lot of people do like aesthetic things with their journals or planners, but it's just not something that I've been interested in experimenting with for quite a long time, but I have been recently. So I just wanted to do something a little different. And I also, partially this came from the fact that like I usually order the prints that I use for my journal from free prints, and I'm getting to like the bottom of the barrel with the ones I've already got. Like I'm not really excited about using any of the kind of leftover ones that I've got, but I'm also too lazy to order new ones and find new ones. So I was like, what else do I have, or what could I use? Actually, one month I I was like, I'm going to go out to some local shops and find like a greeting card, like some nice art on a postcard or, you know, some kind of like physical art. And I'll use that for my journal. But yeah, so you'll see that in a little bit. And this is me setting up my constellation tracker, which you might have seen before. Basically, I just have a little line for each area of my life, and they're broken up just into weeks. And so I can just put like an X for like what were the main kind of areas of life that I spent my time in that day. Usually 1 or 2 max, just to see kind of where I'm spending my time. And then I also use this to track like more specific things with like specific little symbols, basically. So like I put a little dumbbell for the days that I went to the gym. Like I can block out larger sections for like, you know, if Pete's going to be off work or going away or whatever. And yeah, it's just a kind of little visual overview, visual tracker of my month, which I love and I find very helpful. Yeah, what else has been going on? I made a bunch of notes about things I could talk about in this video, and I still feel just kind of all over the place. Like I guess I'm quite out of practice with this now. But I also have been doing lots of updates and things on Patreon, so I don't want to just repeat myself, but I also know that people watching this might not be patrons, so they don't know those things. Yeah, working away, like there's kind of a lot in the air right now when it comes to work. And so I want to talk about it, but I also want to like let the chips settle a little before I actually start to talk about it. So I'll get into that at some point, but I just kind of want to like be honest about the fact that like, yeah, a lot of my brain is being taken up by work and changes to work and what I'm doing with all of that. So yeah, me and Pete have returned to Stardew Valley. We started a new farm and then we got absolutely obsessed and absolutely tanned it for like a week. We've slowed down a little, but I think we are going to go back to it. But we also started playing the Outer Wilds, which Pete had played before, or started before and wanted me to play. And holy shit, guys, that game is so good. I don't want to say anything else about it because it's one of those things where you don't want to spoil anything because it's best if you like explore yourself, but like holy shit, it's so good. Yeah, and then I think the other thing, I guess like the biggest topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while is social media, and how it's been not being on social media for so long. As you might know, I left. I have no idea how long ago it was I left, but it was a while ago. And I don't want to go back. I really don't want to go back. I really like having so much more space in my head for other stuff. I feel like I can be so much more creative. I feel like the speed of the stream of incoming information that I was getting from social media was like overstimulating. And overloading, and it wasn't good for me, and I'm really glad that I don't have that anymore. But when shit is going down in the world, as it always is, but as it especially is right now, what with the situation in Palestine, it feels weird and kind of hard to be very disconnected from all of the other, with most information that other people that I follow or that are talking about online like are consuming. So like I know a bit about what's going on, and I know that plenty of people are absolutely horrified by it and it sounds horrific, but I don't have like first-hand experience, even with like just the way that things are shared on social media versus in the news is very different. Obviously, a lot of people are coming face to face with like, you know, first-hand sources and seeing very up close and personal kind of like what the atrocities which are happening, and And I'm not seeing that stuff because I'm not on social media. I'm getting the kind of like summaries of it from the news and people who I follow who are talking about it and stuff. And so it's kind of weird. It has made me think, like, should I come back? Should I, is it like, should I come back to inform myself better? If I was on social media, would I feel more urge to take action? I have lots of other issues that I want to and am kind of taking action on in my personal life when it comes to activist stuff. So there's a part of me that's like, what can I do? Do I really want to split my focus from the things that I have already committed to, like, being like my issues that I want to work on, because no one person can act on everything. Yeah, it's been kind of weird, to be honest. And it has, how I feel about the big platforms, the big algorithmic platforms, the ones, Instagram, Twitter, I refuse to call it X, all of that, like, how I feel about those platforms hasn't changed. And I still think that they're incredibly toxic. But I guess I'm not, like, there still aren't, like, major alternatives. I know that there are some, like, popping up, right? There are smaller ones popping up. You've got, like, your Mastodon and Blue Sky and stuff like that. And I hear about those things in passing, but again, I'm not on social media to even hear properly about these things. So, yeah, so I feel a bit conflicted about that sometimes. That said, though, I still feel like I'm a much more effective human being when I'm not on social media. And so, like, am I willing to kind of paralyze myself or, like, handicap my ability to actually do things and function to be more informed? I don't know. On the kind of more chill side of things when it comes to social media, and I guess, like, content, for lack of a better term, online, I have been... Patreon has kind of become the closest thing that I have to social media. Obviously, I have a Patreon and I create content for it, but I'm also a patron of, other people, and I cycle through them. I've been a patron of quite a few different creators and stuff. And I don't know if you guys know this, because you may not if you're not on Patreon, but it's had a big, like, revamp recently, and there's some things about it that I like. It definitely needed, like, a facelift in terms of functionality and, like, the look and stuff of it. Like, I think the functionality, kind of, like, interface changes have been really good. They're kind of changing to be more like social media in that now the people that follow you aren't called patrons, they're called members, I think. And you can follow people for free and just see their free stuff, or become, like, a paid member. I don't like that they've changed the name. I'm still going to call people patrons, because I think that language of being, like, a patron of the arts, like a patron of an artist, of a creator, is good. And it, like, encapsulates, like, what the entire thing is meant to be for. I feel like blanding it down to member or follower just is, like, going in the wrong direction. Yeah, I find that I go to Patreon now for my content. There's a lot less of it, obviously, than I come across on social media apps, because it's paid content. But I kind of prefer it. Like, it's a smaller amount of stuff made by people that I like enough to actually financially support them. So I actually genuinely really like their work, and there's less of it, so there isn't that kind of constant scroll. It's not like the feed isn't algorithmic or anything like that. It's really nice, actually. So I've been kind of enjoying seeing it that way. And yes, like, I can't afford to support as many people as I would like, ever, basically, because there's so many people I would love to support their Patreon. But I'm kind of okay with like having a smaller pool and, you know, maybe cycling through like supporting, you know, some people for a number of months and then switching back and stuff. Like I'm okay with that. Yeah, so those are just some thoughts about social media from recently. Hello, cinnamon button. So yesterday, I lost the light. I just started setting up my journal too late in the day and I lost the light. It's getting so dark so early now. That's autumn for you. And my glue tape also ran out. And because I'm doing this kind of like collage thing, I literally couldn't finish it until I get some more. So today I'm going to head out to the West End to run some errands and pick up some things. I'm gonna pick up glue tape. I also need to go in past the herbalist because I need to refill my tincture blend, or one of my tincture blends that I'm using right now. Okay, I think I'm ready. I've dressed for comfort and warmth today because it's pretty cold. So let's roll. Okay, so this was my finished setup. And also, just as a little preview, this is what my daily log looks like on the next page. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Couple quick notes as usual. So if you missed my last video, that was my moving vlog, and I'm quite happy with how it came out. So if you haven't caught that, go check it out. The other thing is just what's going on Patreon. So my patrons voted for the next periodical to be about balancing different creative interests and mediums, which is a struggle I constantly have, but I feel like I've got like a good system in place that I'm trying out now. So I just finished writing that periodical, that like article about it today, and that's going out soon. The other thing is that in the spirit of kind of replacing social media with Patreon in some ways, I'm also trying out copying something that Fran Nerd does, who I'm a patron of, which she calls a weekly photo dump. And it's kind of like all the stuff you would post in like Instagram stories, but collected in a little photo book that you post like at the end of the week. So it doesn't disappear, and it's not mixed in with a bunch of other shit and a bunch of other ads and stuff. It's just like all those nice little moments from your day. So I've been trying out that as a format, and I really like it. So yeah, you can check that out too. Okay, I'll leave it there. I hope you're well. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank